What is up, guys? Ninja Nick back with another round of this League Cup in Port Ewen, New York at POW Card Games and Comics. We have myself on the left, if you couldn't tell by the cool Ninja Nick playmat. Playing Gardevoir against my third Lost Box match of the day. Let's start our timer this time actually on time, because time did just start. We are playing. And I have to research away a hand of energies. This is not good. This is a horrible start for me. I got rid of 2 boss's orders, which might not be necessary in this matchup in all honesty. But we do get rid of 3 psychic energy, and I'm really looking for multiple battle VIP passes here, and I just don't have them. I don't have very many ways to get Pokemon at all, so I have to Ultra Ball here. And in hindsight, I'm going to want to discard the Gardevoir EX, but I don't go for that, and you'll see why on the next turn. But we are going to get rid of the Psychic Energy as well as this Gardevoir, the Shining Arcana one. Discarding that because that's the most discardable card in my hand. We are going to go for another Ralts, and then we can bench the Cresselia and just pass. And you would think with my hand, maybe I'm just hoping to top deck a rare candy because I do have the research in hand, so I might have to discard that Gardevoir on this next turn. But that's my thought process here, is that I want to hope I top deck exactly rare candy before my research so that I can get the most value out of what's currently in my hand. I'm also holding POW Pad here. I could POW Pad back in the bosses or one of the researches, but I choose not to do it yet because I don't want one of those to be my top deck. So I'd rather increase the odds of something better being on the top of my deck and then POW Pad on the next turn. And even if my opponent were to play Iono, if they have that in their deck, I do see sometimes the Sablezard will be playing an Iono. I don't think that you should be playing it in there, but you can. But I also don't know that it's Sablezard at this point. I haven't put the dots together in my mind. Randall did just go Psychic Energy pass into my first turn. He is going to attach a Fire Energy here, and this should tell me that it's Charizard Lost Box. But I don't understand that quite yet. Like, it happened so fast. I saw it was Fire Energy. I'm like, oh, okay. And then, like, the thought left my mind. And it definitely should not have. So we're going to go for a second flower selecting here. We're building up that Lost Zone. We've got 4 in the Lost Zone now as soon as this Roxanne hits there. All we need is another switch card as well as a Cramorant, and Randall can get the first attack of the game and the first knockout, but unfortunately whiffs the Cramorant, so he's just going to have to pass. But he's still been able to put together as much as he needed to this turn. And my top deck is exactly Super Rod, so had I Ultra Balled away the Gardevoir EX on this last turn, I could have Super Rodded that back in as well, but there's no way to know that I would have top decked exactly Super Rod, so a little bit of a punish for essentially just playing optimally. It just kind of happens that way sometimes, so now I'm going to have to research here and get rid of my Gardevoir EX. And I do know that the other one is in deck at the very least. So not a super big punish, but you would have liked to still see that go back into the deck. And I could have just gotten an attach for turn last turn to maybe move this Ralts. Would have been cool as well. And we do go for the research, and we finally draw into Battle VIP Pass. Who would have thought, right? So I do evolve to Curly. I get rid of that Battle VIP Pass by using Refinement, discarding that 1 card to draw 2. And I do get Rare Candy off of this, so I can Rare Candy into the other Gardevoir EX. So not being punished from getting rid of that, not playing what ended up being optimally, and getting rid of that Gardevoir EX. So Level Ball here will get me another Ralts. So I currently have 2 Gardevoir lines in play, so there should hopefully be 1 Ralts left in deck. I don't remember if I prized one or not. But I do have an Artisan here. I'm going to play it and use it. And this is a misplay here. So forgetting about the fact that he attached and retreated using a fire energy with that Sableye, we do go for the Manaphy. Now, there's no way to know whether or not he's playing that Delphox V in the deck. He could always potentially do that, be playing Mirage Gates with the Delphox V and all of that. But I think it's fairly likely if you're not playing in Japan, you're not going to see a Delphox V out of any sort of Charizard Lost Box deck. So I get the Manaphy here, and that's just going to be like a dead bench sitter at this point. It should have been a Ralts if I had access to one. Now I do attach for turn here, and we are going to go for the retreat and then Psychic Embrace. So I attach for turn and Psychic Embraced 1 to the Gardevoir, and then I'm going to Psychic Embrace to each of my other Psychic Pokemon. So I have 20 damage on 4 Pokemon. I did not put them in play yet because I'm just going to Moonglow reverse them away, and I am using those really cool looking Japanese damage counters. So it does take quite a lot of effort to put 20 damage into play onto 4 Pokemon. So I did skip that step. I'm sorry that the camera doesn't get to see that, but we do see the knockout. I do choose the Comfey here, and that's definitely an incorrect choice. I think that in hindsight, I definitely should have gone after the Sableye. Just leave both the Comfeys in play, because this version of the deck should just be able to get very easily into a turn 2 Lost Mine. That's basically what they want to do, is they want to Lost Mine they want to cram turn 1, and then Lost Mine every single turn until the last turn where they attack with Charizard to win the game. And that's generally how this deck operates. If you even need to go for the Charizard. You play 3 Sableye with, I think, at least 4 Psychic Energies in deck. I think maybe 5 and 4 Fire, something like that. I don't quite remember what the list looks like exactly. But we finally see the Cramorant off of this Colress. So, managed missing it the first turn, but it's still fine. I managed to take the first prize card. But this deck also does tend to play Hawlucha. So, if he's able to Hawlucha here, he could actually put 10 damage onto both my Ralts and my Manaphy, and then knock both of them out with a Lost Mine. But he still has to build up to that. He is at 6 cards in the Lost Zone now. So, getting that 7th card with this Comfey here. Does get the Hawlucha. It is better to hold off on it for now because you don't necessarily want to be knocking out the Manaphy. You'd rather leave that in play just because it's an easy prize later in the game. It's not going to be evolving into anything at all. Manaphy is not a Pokemon that has an evolution. So now we're probably going to want to switch into this next Comfey, and yes we do. We're going to Flower Select yet again. Going to get rid of the Artisan. I already have Artisan in play, so might as well get rid of his own. He does have a Beach Court in hand, and the Lost Vacuum, I think he got off the Colress. So he can always Beach Court, retreat into his Sableye, and then Lost Vacuum the Beach Court in order to put that and then another card that's in hand both into the Lost Zone to go to 10. He's going to use my own Artisan that's in play to get a second Sableye. So had I not done the Artisan and had I knocked out the Sableye, he might not actually have a Sableye in play this turn. I'm sure that, is there like a Nest Ball or something in hand? There's a Beach Court. He is going to retreat into the Sableye and then Lost Vacuum. He actually doesn't. Yeah, so he might not have actually gotten to a Sableye this turn had I not made those 2 subsequent misplays. Yeah, he's just got a bunch of Pokegears and Chorus and Clara in hand. So yeah, we might not have actually seen a single Sableye potentially this turn. Yeah, had I not played the Artisan and had I knocked out with the Cresselia. So that's, you know, hindsight 2020. It's a very rough matchup for me, and I'm definitely not playing it optimally. So he goes ahead, uses Lost Mine, knocks out the Curlia, and puts a bunch of damage down here onto the, I think it's the Ralts he's going for. So 40 damage to the Ralts, using my nice Japanese damage markers. And my hand is, again, pretty dead. I redraw into one of my boss's orders. I think maybe I should have just discarded the POW pad instead of putting the bosses back in. I mean, the boss could be cool if Randall, like, makes the misplay of benching the Charizard too early. I could boss it up. It does have a 3 retreat cost. And then start just taking every turn, knocking out stuff that's on Randall's bench. But that would also have to involve him not finding a switch card, which is very likely in a Lost Box deck. They play at minimum 8. I think even the Giratina Lost Box version sometimes play Cross Switcher now in it for some reason, which just makes that inconsistent deck even more inconsistent. So Randall managed to tie up the prize trade here on this last turn, so I can take another prize here, but the problem is if I want to Moonglow reverse with this Cresselia, I do need one more Pokemon in play. And I'm going to Ultra Ball here. I'm going to discard my Zacian and my Gardevoir. And we're going to go for the Kirlia to try to draw some more cards. I think maybe it would have just been better to keep the Zacian and just bench it and then Moonglow reverse. And then, yes, Randall just knocks out Manaphy Ralts, but then maybe just try to win off the back of the Gardevoir EX and the Zacian. Sounds fine enough. Again, that Charizard can come out of nowhere at times, but I'm trying to dig for quite literally anything that will help me here. And I really don't know what I'm going for this turn. And that's a problem. If you don't know exactly what your game plan is going into a turn already, you don't know the matchup. And that's pretty clear for me at this point. So I do that. Now I have to, if I want to Moonglow reverse this turn, I have to Ultra Ball a second time, putting my hand to 0 just to get the Zacian that I already discarded this turn. Yeah, so see, I'm considering going for the Gardevoir EX attack this turn. And yeah, here I Ultra Ball to get the Zacian. And there is Mew in the deck as well, but the Mew only has 60 HP, so if I put the Mew down, he just takes a 2-prize turn with the Sableye. And you see that Clara is in the discard pile. That's going to be relevant later in the match as well, but I had no choice but to get rid of that. Or the Penny. Did I say something else? Penny. I might have said Clara. I say the wrong names of supporters all the time now. I don't know if I had a stroke or what. Like, what the heck? So we're going to Moonglow reverse 80 to the Sableye on the bench just to try to prevent our opponent from being able to use any more flower selectings to dig any further into the deck. Leaving that Sableye active is definitely the correct play. So we are going to level ball here, and yeah, he's going to grab that Hawlucha. And he's going to double Fog Crystal, so now he can get Sableye Psychic Energy. So now he can build up a second Sableye and start chaining those. So I definitely really allowed him to get into this position during this game. Had I just played a whole lot better on that second turn, that I just this wouldn't be happening potentially. So he is going to go for the Sableye and attach for turn to it. Now he's going to Echoing Horn. He's going to bring back my Ralts, and since it has 70 HP, he's going to put 10 damage onto my Manaphy and Ralts, and then he's going to hit for 60 onto both the Kirlia and the Ralts that are on my bench with Lost Mine. Leaving, again, that Manaphy in play. He could have chosen not to Echoing Horn and knock out the Manaphy instead, but he would rather keep that prize in play. So I like this play from him where he went and got rid of my, brought back and got rid of my Ralts. That's a lot more conservative of a play, in all honesty. Because now he can keep that Manaphy as a prize later in the game if he needs to. He has at 3 prizes remaining, so he could always knock that out as well as a Zacian in order to win the game. And I do retreat here into my Gardevoir EX, and now I have to attack with it because I have no choice but to. I attach for turn, and then I use 1 Psychic Embrace to put 20 on myself. And then we just swing. So Gardevoir EX does have a ton of HP. It can't even be one-shot by the Charizard. For those who don't know what the Radiant Charizard does, it does 250 for 5 energies, 1 fire for colorless, and it has an ability that reduces its attack cost by 1 colorless for every prize card your opponent has taken. So as soon as I go down to 2 prize cards, he can attack for 1 fire energy with 250 HP worth of damage on just a 1 prizer. And that's really rough for me to prepare for. He's always going to try to hold the Charizard in his hand. He doesn't want to bench it early because then I can always boss it up and knock it out, which is the main reason why I POW-padded both of the boss's orders back into the deck. I think maybe I could have done just 1 in case he decides to bench the Charizard early, but, you know, again, hindsight 2020, so he is going to play the Escape Rope here. It's going to force me into a different active, so I'm going to put the Cresselia up just in case he does decide he wants to maybe attack with a Cramorant if he has another one. And no, he's just going to go for Sableye yet again, and he is going to Clara here since he's not used a supporter yet, get back double Sableye, double Psychic Energy, and now even if I knock this Sableye out, he's going to be able to loop yet again, and I think this is probably the point where I should concede. Since I don't have access to the Penny, he can now knock out the Cresselia and then put 120 on the next turn to the Zacian, and then the turn after that, finish it off, and I can't Penny the Zacian back into my hand. Had I still have the Penny, there would still be a chance for me to be able to win the game. But just a little bit unfortunate for me that I had to get rid of that. So Penny, just a super clutch card in this deck. And we are going to see the Lost Mine is getting rid of the Cresselia. Of course, the Cresselia being the most threatening thing, and it puts him to 2 prize cards remaining, so he can map it out pretty easily. If I bench another 1 prize Pokemon, he could potentially knock out that and the Manaphy, and that's exactly what I do here. I do draw into the Greninja, so I'm going to bench Radiant Greninja here just to draw some more cards because I do have a Psychic Energy in hand. But I do think the better play is just attach to Zacian and then just hit. But yeah, I had to use my POW-pad early. I had to discard my Penny early. And the Penny would really just be able to help me clutch this game out. Making it so it's really hard for Randall to take those last 2 prizes. Because if I Penny the Zacian back, not only does he not lost my... Because he would probably hear... If I hadn't benched the Greninja and I still had access to Penny, if he lost mines to the Zacian, which would be the correct play, I can then Penny the Zacian back up and heal it. Even putting the Radiant Greninja down, he can knock out Manaphy and put the rest of the damage onto the other 60 down to the Greninja, and then I can Penny that up, and it does still put me in range of the Charizard attach for turn boss's orders play, being able to win Randall the game, but I see that I don't have any chance. My Penny's already gone, and that's the game. So I do scoop it up there. I think I could have scooped up the turn. I think knowing that the Penny was gone, I should have scooped the moment he went Clara for double Sableye, double Psychic. That would definitely have been the correct turn to scoop. We could have saved a few minutes there. We have 31-ish minutes left in the round, so I'm going to hope for a really quick Game 2 and Game 3 so that I can win this. This is essentially the winning in, because I am at... I was up paired the previous round and won versus Lugia in a very close game. And then this round I did get down paired. Randall is 2-1, and I'm 2-0-1. And if either of us wins one more game, we can ID the last round in order to get into cut. And if I do manage to win this second game and we don't have enough time for game 3, then we tie and we both have to win the last round in order to make a cut. So this is a really dicey situation. So basically a tie is the same as a loss for me at this point, but I still have to fight for the tie at the very least. Because it does increase my odds of getting up paired in the next round. And then if I get up paired, they might consider conceding to me so that there is a Gardevoir in cut if I get like up paired to a lost box, you know? Because there are quite a lot of lost box in this tournament. There's at least, I think, 2 of them. At least 1 or 2 of them basically guaranteed at this point after this round. So, Randall does get a mulligan here. I am going to get 1 additional card, which could be very good for me. And I'm going to need all the help I can get after that first game where I just felt like I got absolutely destroyed. I do get an additional level ball, which is a great way to find more Pokemon. I also have a Battle VIP Pass in hand, and my draw for turn is Battle VIP Pass, so I'm able to open with double Battle VIP Pass with 2 level balls in hand and a Fog Crystal. So I've got all of the Pokemon search I could ever ask for here. And then there is the question of whether or not I want to set up Zacian here on my first turn. I could always attach for turn and Roar the Sword, and then be able to get swinging with that next turn. If I get the Rare Candy Guardy, I can retreat the Cresselia to be able to do that. So, I could go for that, but I feel like getting all the Ralts that I can in play this turn is probably the best, and then just try to evolve as many of them as fast as possible to try to counteract the Lost Vine. So I am kind of prize checking a little bit. I'm seeing what Pokemon I do have in my deck to make sure I can optimally choose who I'm going for with these VIPs. And I'm doing them one at a time just in case my opponent goes, oh yeah, well you failed the first one, right? Which I don't think he would do. He's a pretty decent person. So we're going to go, I'm just deciding on whether or not I want to go for the Zacian. It looks like I do. And then I do, of course, have the Fog Crystal as well as the Level Ball to be able to go for whatever I need here. So I am going to Level Ball for 1 more Ralts. I do already have the 60 HP one in play, so that's my first one I'm going to want to evolve on my next turn. And then I'm going to Fog Crystal here to get the Psychic Energy, which I attach for turn, and then Roar the Sword. So I choose not to use Greninja's ability. I could have used the Greninja's ability, discarding the Psychic Energy, hoping to draw into another Psychic Energy and just 1 more card. And that would have been the best, because then I could attach an Aura the Sword. But I didn't want to risk not drawing into the Psychic Energy. So I just went for this instead. Tried to load up the Zacian with 3 energy as fast as possible. Because then I can just get swinging with it or the Cresselia. And keep healing off this Zacian. So that's just passing into Randall's turn here. And he's going to go for the Fog Crystal to find a Comfey. So maybe he can get a Flower Selecting off here. It's funny that he's managed to start Sableye both games instead of any of his Comfeys. He does play 4 Comfeys and only 3 Sableye. So you'd think it would be more likely that he starts a Comfey. But able to find one with the Fog Crystal, is going to go for the Chorus's Experiment now. Finds another Comfey off of that he could choose to keep. He also has the Cramorant as well, so we might be able to see a Cramorant attack this turn. That would be a little annoying for me, because then I would have to hard attach to the Cresselia in order to use its attack. I wouldn't be able to use a Psychic Embrace even if I do get that. But we see an Escape Rope, so that's going to force my Greninja up. Usually against Lost Box, you want to actually not have your Mew in play. You want Cresselia, Greninja, and then just like all Ralts or 3 Ralts and a Zacian, because then every time they play Escape Rope, you just pivot between your 2 Pokemon that can't get one-shot by a Cramorant. And it makes it so they take one less prize card during the match. Or, like, it makes it so, like, they can knock that Pokemon out with the Sableye later. But it's still fine. So we see the Heavy Ball is going to get that Radiant Charizard out of the prize cards. So I know that he has access to it now. I guess he doesn't need those other cards that are in there. I think... Was there a second Cramorant in there? I couldn't tell. And I think maybe the Drapion. But he does put down the Cramorant. He has used both of his Comfeys here. And he's going to retreat with the Cramorant. And I think he already retreated with the Beach Court. So you see me freezing here for a moment. And I'm thinking, I'm like, you already retreated with the Beach Court. So since that's like an illegal action moving that up, we just rewind the game state. It's a really easy mistake to fix. So he just goes ahead and uses the escape rope. Now, had you had a Pokemon active that you could have attacked with, declare an attack name that you can't use, that does pass your turn. Because you've already entered the attack step of the turn, basically, even though there's really not such a thing as an attack step. But since he couldn't retreat into the Cramorant, even though he declared the attack, you still just rewind the game state to fix that. So he still gets to get his attack off. And now I have that damage on my Cresselia, so I'm going to have to attach for turn to that if I want to Moonglow reverse this turn, which I will want to do. I'm going to want to Moonglow reverse the Sableye. I've learned my lesson from game 1 for sure. So here I go with the refinement. We're going to get rid of an Ultra Ball. I think I do have one more Ultra Ball in hand. Or no, I didn't need an I don't remember. So we're going to go for the Fog Crystal this time. Now we can use the Radiant Greninja's concealed cards, discarding that energy card to draw 2 more. And I'm really trying to piece together a Rare Candy Guardy this turn so I can Moonglow reverse. Because, again, that would be ideal. So, we're using concealed cards. I love my ability used markers for sure that I custom made using my printer, sticker paper, and bingo chips. It was too expensive to like make my own like poker chip things. I would have had to make a huge order in order for it to be cheap enough per unit. But then I'd really have to sell them. And I don't think I'm at the point where I can make and sell my own merch like that. Although I do have the Teespring merch store, which is linked in the description box below. But that is because I do not make the stuff. So we go for the Iono, I think that I went for, right? That was my supporter for turn. I like blinked and missed it. And I do get Rare Candy and Ultra Ball. So I can Ultra Ball here for the Gardevoir EX and get the attack off here. I still have one more energy in hand to be able to attach for turn to the Cresselia. And then I can just start loading up these bench Pokemon with some energy cards and start healing off damage. Get rid of that Sableye and make it as hard for Randall to win this game as possible. We only have about 21-22 minutes left in the match, so I'm going to have to, again, win this quickly if we want to get to this next game. I also have the Temple of Sinnoh in play. I just play it just because I don't really care about my opponent's stadium too much, and I just wanted to thin my hand. I know he's probably not playing Path, so we go 1, 2, 3 energies from the discard pile, plus the Cresselia is already damaged, so that's 80. I can move, and we're going to go to the Sableye. So now I have to move my 100 damage marker off the Cresselia and change it to 90. So that's a 5 and 4 1s, the downside of using the cool Japanese markers. So it's a little bit easier using dice, but I think it looks a lot cooler using the Japanese markers. But I like to show that I used Moonglow Reverse by having those energies up on the front like that. That's my way of kind of signifying that those all have 20 damage on them without actually putting the damage down, to try to save that time for both myself and my opponent. So we're going to see the Pokegear Looking for a Chorus's Experiment, most likely, off this top 7. And we fail to find. That's really good for me, him not getting that Chorus. He also did use the Comfey first, and then the Pokegear, which is definitely correct sequencing, because that allows you to see 9 cards deep into your deck to try to find that Chorus. Whereas if you use the Pokegear first and failed it, and then you use the Comfey, you could potentially be seeing the same cards a second time. I know a lot of people make that argument, should you Comfey first or Chorus's Experiment first? If he had the Chorus in hand, I definitely would say use the Chorus first, just because then you see more options, and it makes your Lost Zone off of the Comfey a little bit more of an easier decision. Looks like we're going to get rid of that Roxanne yet again. That's good for me. He probably only plays the 1. It's possible he plays 2. But yeah, he's, I know you guys can't see it from the angle, but he is shaking his head no. He's not happy with his hand right now. He doesn't really have anything, hasn't been able to play a supporter, and he is probably just going to be passing the turn here, which is both good and bad for me. So, since he's not taking the knockout on the Cresselia, I don't get an extra energy in my discard pile to be able to potentially use a Cresselia again later in the game. But I do have damage already on that Cresselia, so at worst I could always Moonglow reverse just 20 to a Comfey or something. But I am going to have to build my hand again, so I am using another early Iono, which I don't like to use, especially after I knew that my opponent's hand was not that great. So he's going to be happy to see that new hand, but I really do need to find just like energies and stuff. This hand isn't super great either. Did I use all of my abilities yet, or were those marked? Okay, I don't know what happened to my music. Okay, there we go, it's playing again. So I knocked my cord out of my mic again. I need to, like, find a way to, like, pin it up, so it doesn't bump into my knee, which it just cut out as I said that. It's getting a little loose. But anyway, I did not use my abilities yet, so we're going to use all of those. You always got to remember to move your ability markers out of play after you use them for a turn, so... We are going to Ultra Ball here as well. We get rid of a Battle VIP Pass, and I don't need the research at this point anymore either. And I'm going to be evolving all of my Kirlias this turn. Not because I want to, but because I want the HP, basically. So I'm going to be evolving my second Kirlia now, use its Shining Arcana. You usually want to hold off evolving into the Shining Arcana as long as you can, because the turn that you evolve, you get to use the Refinement and the Shining Arcana at the same time. And you also, the Refinement's a little better because you have to discard a card, which is great if you get judged, Iono'd, whatever. There's less bad cards going back into the deck, or you could always be getting more energies into the discard pile, which Shining Arcana cannot do. So I'm trying to see if there's anything else I can really do with my hand here. And it looks like I am going to retreat because I'm not able to piece together a Moonglow reverse. And Randall reminds me that the Beach Court is in play, so it is a free retreat. And I said, oh, thank you. It would have technically been better to get rid of the energy, so it does matter. So I'm glad he reminded me, because that could have made an incorrect game state at the very least. So I do retreat into the Zacian, and I might just get hit by a Cram here. This is not what I want to be doing, but on the next turn, I can then retreat 2 energy off the Zacian and then start Moonglow reversing again. So as long as we can see another miss for the Sableye this turn, that'll be really great. But of course, I owned my opponent into a potentially better hand, so if we don't see the Sableye this turn, I'm going to be really confused, honestly. Because he missed the Chorus's Experiment before, so I knew that he didn't have it in hand, so this increases the likelihood he's going to hit into it, especially since he is playing these multiple Pokegears. And again, uses the Comfey first and then the Pokegear to see technically 9 cards deep, and that 9th card was the Course's Experiment. So as always, the Pokegear only sees 7 cards deep, but he saw those first 2 with the Comfey, and was able to barely get to that Course's Experiment, so that correct sequencing really helping him out here. You see he also plays these Bravery Charms, which is an interesting inclusion as well. It does boost the HP of some of Randall's Pokemon, so it could be relevant, you know, Cramorant wouldn't die to a Cramorant in the mirror. Makes that math a little bit different. So it might just be a mirror tech. Against me, it doesn't really matter. I should be one-shotting him no matter what, but it would be nice for him to be able to get a Bravery Charmed Sableye, because then I can't Moonglow reverse it very easily. I would have to, like, Boss Knockout instead. So that could be another reason to be playing the Bravery Charm. It's not something I've seen in Lost Box decks really at all, so I'm not sure if it's a unique idea for him, or if the Sablezard deck currently does play those. But we do see the Nest Ball is getting another Comfey. Almost thought about getting the Sableye, but he is 1 card short in the Lost Zone. So I think he's trying to use this Comfey to find the Sableye, and that will allow him to get to 10 cards in the Lost Zone. I'm just double checking to make sure it is at 9. Because he put those cards from the Chorus in first, and then a little bit later changed the number. So always good to double check. I was sure that he was correct and just didn't mark it yet, but. And now we get to the 10th card in the Lost Zone, so he moves those dice away. Getting rid of the Echoing Horn, because, of course, with my board state currently, he's not going to be able to really utilize that. Benches the Sableye, and does he have a switch card? Yes, he does have both a switch card and an escape rope, so I think he's just trying to decide which he wants to use. He is going to go for the switch card. He would rather keep the Zacian active, and he is going to start spreading damage. He actually goes 3 to all 4 of those Pokemon. So that does knock out the Cresselia. That's exactly how much HP it had left. And then he spreads 3 to each of the others, because that kind of helps with the math on all of them. In case I do heal them off, it does make it so 1 damage counter does stick. And if I don't heal them off, then he can come in with the Sableye in the next turn and start knocking out these Gardevoirs. Definitely correct not going after the EX, but I have actually double Super Rod in hand. So this is kind of huge for me. So I remember that he has the Beach Court in play. I'm going to play the Artisan to grab the Cresselia immediately back out of my deck. I still have to shuffle because I did technically deck search. And now, because I replaced the Stadium, the Zacian has a 2 retreat cost again instead of a 1 retreat cost. So I can get 2 energies off of this into the discard pile by using the, for the Moonglow reverse combo. So, have not used my abilities yet, so I'm going to use my Shining Arcana. I'm deciding whether or not I want to put that Psychic Energy in play. I choose not to, so that I can use the Greninja's Concealed cards to draw an additional 2 cards. And then, of course, get another Psychic Energy off of that. And then we can use yet another Shining Arcana if we want to here. And the unfortunate thing is I do have a lot of dead cards in hand that I don't necessarily want, so it would have been great to still have access to Refinement. But again, had I not been able to evolve these Pokemon, it would have given Randall just a good opportunity to start picking off Curlias. So I'm looking at how many cards I have left in deck. I think there's 5 there. I have not played a supporter yet. So, knowing that Randall can use my own Artisan to find himself another Sableye, and I'm knocking this one out this turn, I'm getting rid of my own Artisan. So, this game, I draw really great, but I also play really well. I'm very proud of this game, because it's a complete 180 from that last one, where I just kind of punted it the whole time. And I'm going to use Psychic Embrace to put 1 onto the Cresselia. And I'm considering putting another one into play just to get that energy back onto the Zacian so that it can attack again in a future turn. So I do that, and it will heal both the Zacian, the Cresselia, and then all of those guys on the bench, including the Greninja that have the damage counters on them. Because Cresselia heals 20 from all of your Pokemon and moves it to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So we do knock out that Sableye. And another thing to note is that there are about 10 minutes left in the match, so if I am able to win this game, I think at this point, if you're Randall, I think you might just want to scoop, because I have a huge hand and a small deck, so you gotta assume that I have the Super Rod in hand. So he already got rid of Roxanne super early. This would be the turn to Roxanne, and if he could Roxanne, that would be what he wants to do. It would be the best play, and he'd still have a chance to win this game. So he is going to go for the Escape Rope. I'm going to put up the Greninja. Honestly, I could have put up the Gardevoir that's on my bench that has the 1 energy. That might have been a little bit better. It would have got hit by the Cram. Well, actually, no, because if it gets hit by the Cram, I can't Psychic Embrace to it. So yeah, still the Greninja is correct. Because again, I'm denying a knockout if I can. And he finds the Chorus's Experiment. I feel like if he did have a second Roxanne in his list, he would have looked at all of the cards off of that Pokegear to make sure that he didn't have a Roxanne in that. Goes for the Chorus, so we're going to be Lost Zoning another couple of cards. Does find Fog Crystals so that he can get another Sableye into play. And he does have another Psychic Energy as well. He already attached Return to this one. And he's also going to need to switch out of this Comfey into the Sableye, so. And he also has the Clara. So again, he is going to one-shot my Cresselia to get it out of play. But look at my deck. I have exactly 2 cards left. I have 3 prizes, right? This is a crazy play. This is an absolutely bonkers play. So I have the Super Rod, and I have 2 Ionos in hand. None of the cards that are currently in my hand I need. So I'm going to start thinning my hand out to make sure there's the least amount of dead cards as possible. So I put the Sky Seal on the Zacian just because. I used the Level Ball to look at what the last 2 cards in deck are. One of those is a Psychic Energy for the Greninja. So I do have a Psychic Energy in hand already. I could attach, or I could just put it back into the deck with the Iono. I think in hindsight, I should have probably just attached for turn now. And then I would have guaranteed to have another energy in hand for next turn in case I need to retreat my Greninja again. So that's probably the one mistake I make in this match. So I Super Rod back in the Cresselia. And then I play Iono here. Yeah, I think there's nothing else that I do. So I'm like, I literally go, I'm playing Iono, there's only 3 cards left in deck, and I have 3 prizes, so I'm just going to take those. So I never actually shuffled my deck, technically. So technically I should have had to do that, but like, I mean, it doesn't make any difference. So just saving some time in case we go to a game 3, and maybe I can cheese out a good win. So I do get that Cresselia, I put that back down. I attach for turn to the Greninja because I knew that was in those last cards. And now I'm going to Psychic Embrace yet again. And I also have not used any of my Gardevoir's abilities. So I'm counting up the damage, and I need one more Psychic Embrace to make sure that I can knock out the Sableye. So I put it to the Gardevoir EX since that has no damage on it, and I'm healing all of the damage off my board this turn. So I am doing an extra 10, technically, but again, all of the damage is moving to the Sableye. So I take the knockout, and Randall goes, okay, I concede. Because at this point, he realizes I only have 2 prizes left, and there's no way he can build enough damage up with Sableye or chain enough Charizards together. So we only have, it looks like 6 minutes left on the clock. I knew that there was only about 5 minutes left. Actually, if you can tell, it's really hard to tell, but right here is a watch. So a thing that I started doing is sometimes I do forget to charge my Fitbit. And, or just like, and if I don't, my last watch that I had that was my backup did die. So I went to Walmart, I bought a new cheap watch for like 10 bucks, And I actually cut the wristband off of it. It was like a leather, like a cheap leather wristband, or a faux leather, I think. And I cut that off of it, and I just threw the watch face in my deck box. So even if I forget my watch now, I do have a watch in my deck box. It's right in there with the dice and all of that, because I have a double deck box, and I have my deck on one side, and I have the dice box and the watch and the ability to use markers and all that on the other side. So I've actually been able to keep pretty good track of time during this whole tournament, which is really great because I'm playing Gardevoir and I need to know time. So yeah, we're starting game 2 with only 5 minutes about left on the clock. And, I mean, at this rate, it looks like we might only have, like, a turn apiece, because that's usually how it works. And I even get a mulligan, which slows it down as well. Now, I'd rather have the win, but I'm comfortable taking the tie here, because I know that I'll probably just win the last round. But... because I thought that there were... I knew that there was one Arceus deck that I could potentially get paired to in the next round. Sorry, Alan. That I felt comfortable playing against to try to get the win. And then I knew that there was at least one more Lugia in the room that I could have got paired against, I think, as well. It was hard to tell because I didn't know everybody's names. I do get a basic Pokemon, so there is the Cresselia start yet again. But in hindsight, there are, after this round, there are 3, so it's a top 8 cut. There are 3 301s and 2 3-1s. So all of them are guaranteed as long as they all tie. The 301s can lose, the 3-1s can tie to make it in. And then there are just a couple more spots open for other people. So there is a potential that a 3-2 could bubble in. So I could even take the loss and have just as good of chances with a tie. However, the tie does allow me to more likely get up paired. And as, I want to say I said this before, but I did have to re-record half of this because I forgot to put the match timer up. Taking the tie here does allow me more likely to get up paired to a lost box that would scoop me into cut just to have a favorable matchup. So, like, the tie strategically is just better for me, but doesn't matter match point wise whether I get in or not. But we're still going to try for it. 2.5-ish minutes left on the clock, so it's really looking like this match will not finish. So Randall doing everything he can as fast as he can. I think you can get rid of the charm here so you can look at your prize cards. I think usually just the information value that you get off of the heavy ball is enough to play it. Even if you know there are no Pokemon in your prize cards, sometimes I feel like just playing the heavy ball is just a good thing to do. I think heavy ball is infinitely better than town map ever was. I know that there was one player, I want to say European player, that would always play town maps in his deck just so that he knew his prize cards every game. And town map is a card that just says play with your prize cards face up. But just the fact that you can see your prize cards and your opponent can't is really great. And you can get a Pokemon out of there. It's huge. And I hope that Hisuian Heavy Ball, like, never rotates. I think it's just such a fantastic card. And, again, another, like, minute and a half left. So I'm going to use my opponent's Artisan here. We're going to get a Ralts. And I'm checking to see how many Pokemon are left. I'm comfortable taking my time just checking the prize cards a little bit, just because I know that I'm still comfortable with the tie. But I do have to make sure I'm not playing slowly. I'm just making sure there are no other Pokemon. So I am going to use the Artisan here to grab the 60 HP Ralts, I want to... No, I grabbed the 70 HP one. Because if I'm not grabbing another Ralts, I'd rather have just 70 HP ones in play. And Randall's like shaking his head a little bit because he knows time is about to get called at any moment. And my hands is actually looking pretty scary. I don't have anything in hand to get Pokemon in play, so I could actually lose this game. But I end up workering into Level Ball, Battle VIP Pass, and Zacian, I think it was, right? Or no, it was Research. And then they do call time, and he goes, can you bench another Pokemon? And I put down the Zacian, and he goes, yeah, there's no way I can take the prizes. And I'm like, yeah, neither can I. So we just call it the tie there. And my round timer was actually pretty spot on, so that's pretty cool. So as always, guys, do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I have one more winning in, which you will see in the next round because there were quite a lot of IDs. Randall did end up winning his next match, so he did make top 8, but he unfortunately did lose in top 8. So he leaves with only 25 championship points, and I have one more win to achieve to get there. So we will see you guys then to see if I get in or not.